Consider this. What if our planet continues to warm at the current rate? This isn't simply a hypothetical scenario, it's happening right now. The Earth's average temperature is rising steadily due to a phenomenon we know as global warming. The consequences of this seemingly small change are vast and far-reaching. It's imperative we comprehend the magnitude and the ramifications of this global issue. Dive deeper into this crucial matter and let's understand the impacts of global warming. To comprehend the effects better, we need to look at the data. Global warming, as you may know, refers to the long-term increase in Earth's average temperature. But just how much has it increased? Since the late 19th century, our planet's average temperature has risen by nearly 2 degrees Fahrenheit, or a little over 1 degree Celsius. This may not seem like much, but when applied to our planet as a whole, it's a significant shift. Now, let's turn our attention to the polar ice caps. These vast icy expanses play a crucial role in regulating our planet's temperature. Unfortunately, they are melting at an alarming rate. Scientists estimate that Greenland and Antarctica are losing 383 billion tons of ice each year. This is a rate that has accelerated rapidly over the past 3 decades. And what happens when all this ice melts? It flows into the oceans, contributing to rising sea levels. Over the last century, the global sea level has risen by about 8 inches. However, the rate in the last 2 decades is nearly double that of the last century. Alongside this, the concentration of carbon dioxide, a potent greenhouse gas, has shot up. For the first time in human history, it surpassed 400 parts per million in 2013. This is a level not seen on Earth for millions of years, and it continues to rise. These trends are not random or accidental. They are driven by human activities, primarily the burning of fossil fuels like coal, oil, and gas. These activities release vast amounts of carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases into the atmosphere, trapping heat and driving global warming. Let's not forget that these are not just numbers. They represent a reality that is rapidly transforming our planet. They are a warning, a call to action. And the more we understand them, the better equipped we are to respond. These numbers are not just figures, they represent a reality that is transforming our planet. The polar regions are feeling the heat quite literally. The Arctic and Antarctic regions, the Earth's frozen frontiers, are in a state of rapid transformation. The ice, which has been a constant feature for millennia, is melting at an alarming rate. The reason? Rising global temperatures. Now let's take a moment to consider the Arctic. It's home to the majestic polar bear, a species perfectly adapted to thrive in a harsh, icy environment. But as the ice melts, their habitat shrinks. They're forced to swim longer distances, and their hunting grounds are disappearing. The situation is so dire that, according to the World Wildlife Fund, polar bear populations could decline by nearly 1/3 by mid-century. In the Antarctic, the story is similar, but with a different cast of characters. Here, it's the charming penguins who are struggling to adapt. Emperor penguins, for instance, breed on the ice. But as the ice melts earlier each year, these birds are losing their breeding grounds. The British Antarctic Survey estimates that if current trends continue, we could see a staggering 50% decrease in emperor penguin colonies by the end of this century. But the melting ice isn't just a problem for the animals that call the poles home, it's a global issue. As the ice melts, it adds to the volume of our oceans, contributing to rising sea levels. It also means less sunlight is reflected back into space and more is absorbed by the ocean, accelerating global warming in a vicious feedback loop. The poles are like the canaries in the coal mine of climate change. They're showing us in no uncertain terms that our planet is warming, and it's not just the polar bears and penguins who are at risk. We all are. The melting ice is not just an issue for the poles, but it has global repercussions. As the ice melts, the seas are rising. Imagine the world's vast oceans as a colossal bathtub. If you leave the tap running even just a smidge, the water level will gradually increase. Eventually, it will spill over the sides. This is essentially what's happening to our Earth's oceans as a result of global warming. As polar ice caps melt, the seas are indeed rising, and this has profound implications for our coastal regions. Coastal areas are particularly vulnerable to the impacts of sea level rise. These low-lying regions often bear the brunt of climate change-induced phenomena, including increased flooding and the intensification of storms. The rising sea levels are literally eating away at the land, a process we call coastal erosion. This is not a prediction of what may happen in the future. It's happening right now, all over the world. Take, for instance, the small island nations in the Pacific. Many of these islands are barely above sea level. As the seas rise, their very existence is under threat. And it's not just these isolated islands. Major cities like Miami, New York, and Shanghai are also at risk. These cities are built on the coast, and as the seas rise, they face an increased risk of flooding. The infrastructure that these cities rely on, the roads, the buildings, the airports, are all at risk. But it's not just the physical landscape that's under threat. It's the communities that live there, the people whose homes and livelihoods are being washed away, the cultures that have been shaped by the sea and now face an uncertain future. And this is no longer a distant threat, it's a present reality. We've seen the devastating effects of coastal erosion and sea level rise in recent years. Communities have been displaced, homes have been lost, and lives have been upended. Our coastlines are under threat, and we have the data to prove it. But knowing this gives us the power to act, to mitigate the impacts and adapt to our changing world. We have the knowledge, and now we need the will, because the sea is rising and time is running out. Our weather patterns are also falling victim to global warming. Now you might be wondering, what does that even mean? Well, let's dive in and decipher this. When we talk about global warming, we're not just referring to an increase in average temperatures around the world. Rather, we're also touching upon the knock-on effects this warming has on our climate system, leading to more extreme and unpredictable weather patterns. Take a moment and think back to the last time you experienced a weather anomaly. Maybe it was a heat wave that made you wish you could live in a refrigerator. Perhaps it was a torrential downpour that seemed to go on for days, or even a hurricane that left a trail of destruction in its path. Now imagine these events happening more frequently and with increased intensity. That's the reality we're facing today. Our planet is like a finely tuned machine. When you start messing with one part, it doesn't take long for the whole system to feel the effects. And that's precisely what's happening with our weather. The increased temperatures caused by global warming are fueling more intense and frequent extreme weather events. Heat waves are becoming hotter and longer, causing droughts and wildfires, devastating communities and ecosystems. Heavy rainfall is becoming more common, leading to frequent and severe flooding in many parts of the world. Hurricanes are growing in intensity, causing widespread destruction and loss of life. These weather patterns aren't just inconvenient, they're dangerous. They pose significant risks to our health, our homes, our livelihoods, and our ecosystems. They disrupt our lives, cost billions in damage, and push our emergency services to their limits. But here's the kicker: this is just the beginning. If we continue on our current trajectory, these extreme weather events will become even more frequent and intense. We're essentially turning up the dial on our weather system, and the results could be catastrophic. Extreme weather is becoming the new normal, and it's only going to get worse if we don't act. That's not a prediction, it's a fact. We have the power to change this narrative. The question is, will we? We've taken a journey through the data and seen the effects of global warming. We've explored how the Earth's temperature is steadily increasing, not just on paper, but in reality, in the melting ice caps of the polar regions, the rising sea levels eroding our coastlines, and the extreme weather patterns wreaking havoc across the globe. The polar regions, once vast and icy terrains, are now shrinking rapidly, losing their icy charm and, more importantly, their crucial role in regulating the Earth's climate. Our coastlines, too, are facing the brunt of global warming, with sea levels rising at an alarming rate, eroding the land we call home. Then there's the unpredictable and extreme weather patterns, the torrential rains, the blistering heat waves, the relentless hurricanes. These are not just anomalies, but stark reminders of the turbulent times we are heading into if we fail to address global warming. The extreme weather events and environmental changes we're witnessing serve as stark reminders of the turbulent times ahead if we don't effectively address global warming. They underscore the critical need for immediate and comprehensive action to mitigate climate change and build resilience to its impacts. It's imperative that we heed these warnings and work together to chart a more sustainable path forward for our planet. Indeed, the pace of change driven by global warming presents significant challenges. It underscores the importance of swift and decisive action to address the root causes of climate change and adapt to its impacts. While the situation may seem daunting, it also serves as a call to action, motivating us to work together to safeguard our planet for future generations. Absolutely. Understanding and addressing global warming are urgent priorities. We must continue to research its causes, effects, and potential solutions while simultaneously taking concrete actions to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, protect vulnerable communities, and promote sustainability. Time is of the essence, and concerted efforts are needed to mitigate the most severe consequences of climate change. Absolutely, as inhabitants of this planet, we play a central role in the narrative of global warming. Our actions, choices, and decisions have a profound impact on the trajectory of climate change. It's crucial that we take responsibility and make informed decisions to mitigate its effects and work towards a sustainable future for all. That's the pivotal question. While facing the consequences of climate change may be daunting, it's imperative that we muster the collective will to take action. By implementing sustainable practices, investing in renewable energy, and advocating for policy changes, we can positively influence our planet's future and mitigate the worst impacts of global warming. This is a matter of urgency and collective responsibility.